On the record, whenever you're ready.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Can everyone hear me all right?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good morning. This is the July 27th, 2022 session of the Zoning Hearing Examiner docket. My name is Scott Heenan. I am the zoning hearing examiner for the city of Cincinnati, and I will preside over this hearing. The case before us right now is case number ZH20220107. The purpose of this hearing is to allow applicants and opposing parties to testify and to offer and refute evidence and testimony. This hearing will be following the rules found in the zoning code and the supplemental rules of the zoning hearing examiner. All testimony and evidence that an applicant or any opposing party wishes to offer must be presented at this hearing. The hearing will proceed as follows. The applicant, the applicant's attorney, or the applicant's agent will first present the applicant's case. The public will then have an opportunity to speak after the applicant has presented their case. If it is, if there is more than one person opposing an application, those persons should decide amongst themselves the length of time each will have to speak. If an opposition group is in attendance, I may request that a spokesperson be chosen to speak on behalf of the group. If the applicant is represented by an attorney, the applicant's attorney may cross-examine any person who has testified at the hearing. If a party of record is represented by an attorney, the attorney for the party of record may present witnesses after the applicant has presented its case and may cross-examine any person who has testified at the hearing. In the event that any party testifies or offers argument in opposition to an application, the applicant shall have an opportunity to rebut that testimony and or argument offered in opposition. After the applicant has been given an opportunity to rebut any testimony and or argument offered in opposition, any attorney for a party of record will have opportunity to make a closing statement. Finally, the applicant will have an opportunity to make a closing statement. After all presentations have been made, I will close the hearing. Decisions can be expected within 2 weeks. I may choose to limit any testimony that I deem irrelevant or outside the scope of the application being considered. I may interrupt any speaker to ask any questions, to make any comments. I may also refuse to consider hearsay testimony or documents. This means evidence you want to introduce that consists of a statement made by a person who is not present at this hearing or a document that includes the statement of a person who is not present at this hearing. In the event of any technical difficulties with the video recording conferencing technology, I may continue or postpone this hearing at my discretion. We don't have a sign-in sheet since we're doing this virtually, so I'm just going to take down the names of everyone here. Make sure I got your names right. Brooke Alini, A-L-I-N-I.
Right.
Fred Finch, F-I-N-C-H.
That's correct.
And we have Weston Menzel, and I know how to spell his name. So we've got, I think that's everybody who is here. All persons who are providing testimony will now be sworn in. I would ask everyone who plans on testifying to raise your right hand. And then answer out loud. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony that you will give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Yes.
Okay, with that, I will hear from the applicant.
Me. I'm here representing Atlantic Sign Company. We are wanting to install multiple signs on the new Aspen Dental up on Ridge. We're going to skip over the west facade because that one is good to go. We're only going to look at the east and the south. We're requesting the location variance because of how the building is set on the parcel. There's only street frontage on the west side, but they wanted to have signage all around the building. And then they also were requesting a size variance based on the code saying that we can have 16 square feet. And they're requesting 64 or 63.4 for each sign. 16 square feet, I think the sign would get a little lost on these new buildings because they're just a little bit bigger. On the south side, we do know that there's not a lot of visibility on that one. The client would really like to have visibility all around the building. The east side you can see when you're on Kennedy, so it does give some visibility. It gives everybody kind of a chance to see where they're going since it is a new build, and there is going to be new buildings all around this new one as well. And you know that area up there is kind of getting, it's, I don't want to say overrun, but it's getting pretty packed up with buildings. So we're hoping to get some extra signage so people don't get lost. on the east facade, that's one that you can see from Kennedy. So that's one that we really would like to keep, and we'd like to keep it the size of the 63.4 square feet, because you'll be able to see it from a relatively good distance. We understand that the south facade is one that Wes said there's no signage allowed on that side. We're willing to, kind of make some changes if we need to in order to keep the east facade sign, if there's a way to meet in the middle on that and keep it with the size that it is of the 63 square feet. So that's basically it. We're just requesting the size variance and the location variance. It's hard. It's kind of hard to. It's hard to see it because the building is a new build, so it's hard to kind of, it's hard to tell exactly how far you're going to be able to see it from. But having the east side ones is important, because you'll be able to see it from multiple roads.
You had said that there's more buildings going up in the area, or any buildings going to be going up on your east side?
I don't think so. I think that's going on the north side. There is like a shopping center, it looks like, on the east side, but I'm not sure if there's going to be a building there. Right now it's just a parking lot, but I think that they're putting more stuff up there. Wes would probably know more about what's going to be put up there, but I think that they're adding in more buildings in that area. I know they are in the little shopping center where this one is. They are putting additional buildings.
All right, at that point then, do you have anything else that you wanted to present, or anybody else that wanted to present on your behalf?
All right, is there anything you'd like to add?
No, I think that's it.
Basically, yeah, it's a pretty straightforward one.
Yeah. Okay, in that case, let's see what Wes wants to tell us.
Good morning. So my recommendation is for denial of the sign on the south side, and that's based on, if you look at page 9 of the staff report, it outlines a graphical analysis of the visibility of the sign, and also the visibility of the sign on the west facade. So the sign that's allowed by right, based on the frontage on Ridge, is the one on the west side, and that sign, in my opinion, is actually visible sooner than the sign proposed on the south facade, because of the fact that there's a building that's, blocking the view. There's also a tree there. If you look at page 10, there's a Google Street View image of the building and the tree. So in my opinion, the sign on the south facade is not visible and therefore not effective and not needed. There's no hardship to justify it. The sign on the east facade actually does have some visibility from Kennedy. I don't think there's any more buildings being built between the subject property and Kennedy. There's the Sinfed and then the Ferguson Plumbing. But I believe that the visibility from Kennedy to the back side of the proposed Chipotle, Aspen Dental, there is visibility there. And typically on these types of signage, wall signage variance cases, variances are many times granted when there's extra square footage available that's not being used on the side that it's allowed. So based on the frontage of Aspen Dental on Ridge, they would be allowed, I think it was 79 square feet or something like that, and they're proposing 63 square feet. So therefore they have 16 square feet of extra signage available, and that's many times the zoning hearing examiner has allowed, reasonable shifting of signage around to a different facade in a case where there's like commercial nature. So that's why I thought that this one on the east facade would be justifiable based on that analyses, but it would be limited to the 16 square feet of extra. There has not really been a hardship identified for the east facade either, but given the context, we do, many times I recommended yes on something like that, which is what I'm doing on this one, except with the size limit. I'd also like to point out that the analyses submitted by the applicant about the number of signs on other nearby properties, I did research those and look at those more closely and determined that several of them had variances for the extra signage. But in those cases, they did exactly what I just mentioned a minute ago, where they shifted allotted signage to a different facade, and then like there wasn't signage on, like for example, Crunch Fitness, they shifted allowed signage to a different facade, but then they did not have any signage on their Ridge facade. So they stayed within their allotted amount, and then they in fact didn't put a sign on one of the roads that they had frontage on. So I don't know how valid that presentation was as far as any justification for additional signage, based on what I wrote on my notes on page 8. So just as a conclusion, this is on page 13. I'm just going to read it. The proposed south facade signage is marginally visible. The south facade signage is blocked from view by an existing building and a tree. The permitted sign on the west facade is visible sooner, making the south facade sign, ineffective and not needed. The sign on the east facade is somewhat visible, faces a commercial area, and would provide some effective advertising if the size is reasonable, so as not to impact abutting property. The total signage they propose exceeds the legally allowed amount. But as I mentioned earlier, we would recommend approving some sort of sign on the east facade, and we would suggest 16 square feet. Obviously, the zoning hearing examiner can change that number if they want, or do whatever they want. But anyways, that's kind of a summary of my comments. So thank you.
Is there, I don't know if there's anybody else from the public or anyone else here that would want to speak. Doesn't look like it. Let me go back and ask the applicant on the square footage.
Mm-hmm.
If I were to decide that you needed to shift things around and say, you can put up two, three, however many signs, but you have to stay within the square footage, is that something that you could do in a manner that would be appropriate for your building?
The total allotted was 79. Is that what you said, Wes?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
79.5.
Sign like 26 square feet ish. That sound right?
What if you ended up with 2?
39.5 for each.
Let's see, be roughly.
Yeah. Fred, that's.
I think, yeah, I think I could go back to the customer pretty easily. If we could agree to the east and the west and not to exceed, rather than a lot 16 for the rear elevation. Is it possible to word it that way?
We might be able to do that.
Okay. That would be awesome. I appreciate it.
I think the 16 square feet on that east elevation is it's too small. I don't think you'll see it, it's just kind of a weird, because the building, the length of the building is 50 feet. So I think it's just going to get a little lost in the building. So the 2 with the 30 or 39 makes more sense.
All right. With that, unless, does anybody else have anything else they want to add to the hearing before I close it? Hearing nothing. Okay, I will then close this hearing, and you can expect a decision within 2 weeks.